Okay. Welcome to Cage Minds. I'm Micah Frankel. Interviews are energized by our friends at Dubby. Use the checkout code Cage Minds for 10% off. Check out the shirts. We got them for sale at ziashirts.com. And the hair is looking good thanks to Barber Gabe's Fades right here locally in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Back for another great interview. We have Vinni joining us for the first time ahead of his BKB debut. Thank you so much for joining me, sir. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are really doing some good work, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
My pleasure always to get to hear anybody's story, talk about the fight journey. And you've had quite the journey. I saw that competition has been going on, at least on record, since 2008. So I just want to know, where did this martial arts journey begin?
Well, the first fight I had was in 2002, when I was about 14, and I've told the story before, but it's stupid. Like I wanted to be a pro wrestler, and and in London at the time, early 2000s, like it was really hard to find a pro wrestling school and stuff like that. So I saw UFC 5 because Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock was in the WWF at the time, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of similar. Like I think I can do this. So I called up an MMA show, and I lied. I said I was 18. I said I had a bunch of fights already, and they got me a fight. And yeah, it wasn't so like I turned up. I had to borrow gloves. I had to borrow equipment, shorts, and a guy fucked me up and then broke my arm. And that was the first fight. Now that's not on record, but and I maybe have maybe 15 fights that aren't on record. But yeah, that was the start.
Your arm broken. How did you fall in love in that moment? It sounds like something happened where you kept going back.
I don't even know. Like I liked I was reasonably good at having fights as much as I didn't go to a gym or train or anything like that. But in school I was reasonably big, and I thought I could do this, and I like the idea of entertaining people. As I said, I was into the pro wrestling, and that's all just entertainment. And having like a physical aspect to it, I thought, yeah, this is cool. And yeah, I was just too stupid to quit, I guess. Like it was like, oh, okay, I'll fight this guy again, and I'm gonna go train, and but yeah, it is what it is. And I can't sing or dance, and it beats working every day. And I've had a pretty good run with it. I've been able to travel and make some money, so you know it is what it is.
Did you ever find the pro wrestling school? Did you ever give that a try?
At that point, like as I said, when you're 15, 16, and especially back then, it wasn't accept, oh, that's fake, right? Like it's bullshit. Why would you do that? And and yeah, and I couldn't find a school, not one that I could get to. And yeah, so just never. Now in retrospect, I kind of wish I went that way, because it's obviously more accepted now, and it's a whole different thing. But yeah, no, I didn't. I found one in Dubai. I've been to one a couple times before lead ups to fights and stuff like that. So it's something I could do, but we'll see.
But MMA, it sticks with you. And now on record, I believe you're approaching 50 fights. Like, how does that sink into you that over 21 years, if you count those unregistered ones, we're talking about possibly 60 fights in all?
Yeah, so it's something like that. Like I tried to do the guess, and it was like 60, 65, something like that. But again, it's now it's kind of funny. Like I'm not going to sit and complain about Tapology or Sherdog for that matter. But for example, even on Tapology, there's fights I've had that were closer to like UFC one rules, where they allowed soccer kicks and knees to the head on the ground and all that kind of stuff, and that wasn't included. They call that like custom MMA or something like that. And then there were fights I had. I had one, for example, in France where MMA was illegal at the time. It was more like a pancrase type fight, and that one was on. That one's still on my record, as a loss, as an MMA fight loss, where I've had wins that aren't on. But yeah, I digress. That doesn't really matter anymore. Like I'm all in on Bare-Knuckle now, And that is what it is. But yeah, around that. And if you include the other fights, it's probably closer to 100, but give or take.
So, as we talk about 100 fights, and you're coming up to now partaking in Bare-Knuckle, what was it that intrigued you? I know you've been with BKFC before. That was in 2022. So, what makes you want to revisit Bare-Knuckle?
I don't really like at the time with the fight I had in BKFC. I think I was just offered it. It wasn't no, something I specifically tried to get into. But like I legitimately enjoyed it. And maybe this is going back to the old kind of, UFC one type days where it's like it's not a established sport. We don't exactly know the game plan of what makes guys successful or, how fights should be fought. And that kind of interests me. MMA now is kind of everyone knows what it is, like get good at wrestling. Wrestling is number one, and then when you stand up, kind of do K1, and there's not that much creativity, maybe as much as it was to me, back in the day. But bare knuckle's still a bit like, oh, I don't know, it still kind of intrigues me a little bit. And plus, if I'm honest, MMA's kind of passed me by. You know what I mean? Like I didn't achieve for various reasons. I didn't achieve what I feel like I could have achieved. Bare knuckle, I can be a world champion, and whether it's in a niche sport or not, I can be a legitimate world champion in something, in a combat sport before I call it a day.
How big of a goal is that for you to be able to reach that moniker of world champion?
Yeah, it's everything now to me. Like I'm 100% invested in bare knuckle, into training bare knuckle. I don't do jiu-jitsu anymore. I don't do MMA. I don't coach. I do this 100%. And as I said, I don't want to put it out there and it don't work out. But I believe I'll win this fight. I believe the next fight or the one after will be for a title. I'll defend, and then I can maybe look at running into the sunset. But yeah, no, and it's everything to me now. In regards to an athletic endeavor, like being a world champion, this is it.
Were you surprised that you had these emotions about leaving MMA behind and being kind of reinvigorated by bare knuckle?
Yeah, because it's a crazy. I don't want to say stupid, but it takes a certain sort of person to be interested in bare knuckle. Whether you're watching it or doing it. And yeah, I don't know what it is. It's yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because again, when I started into MMA, it was the niche, illegal in 50 states type stuff, and that was what was interesting. And now it's a mainstream sport, and you have legit, programs and stuff, and it's like I'm kind of bored with that, and bare knuckle is just uh, you know rogue enough to where it's still interesting. But I have no idea where it come from. But yeah, I love this shit.
We're in a part of the world where bare knuckle has at least BKB, it's been expanding for years. So did you feel like, well, especially here, and you used the word stupid, don't worry, we all felt it when we first looked at bare knuckle. I've talked to even great coaches in the sport that they just the first time they were told, put your guys in bare knuckle, they're like, oh, this is stupid. We all get there, we all get by it, we all love the sport. But when you're there and you're into it, are you surprised that now that you're seeing these trajectories, this growth you've seen, like I said, from BKB, how it kind of was niche and it's really started to expand into a much bigger spotlight.
I think it depends on how it's marketed. It depends on the long term, because you've seen it yourself. Like there are little phases. It's like, oh, this is the next big thing, and then that kind of dies down, and then it's something else. And I don't know how it's perceived by the general public. Like to me, I've kind of gone in depth. I'm a historian on the subject, kind of. Like I like the idea of what will work, what won't work, how it was back in the day, and stuff like that. And obviously the two leading shows are marketed different, the way BKB markets themselves as opposed to how BKFC do it. And hopefully there's enough of a market for everybody to succeed and people to really, say what they like, and it push forward.
As you're diving into doing your research, what have you found has been the biggest evolution you think in the sport?
I don't know if they had. Again, I don't want to talk shit on everybody, but like it I don't know if people really are. Like granted, I'm one of two people in the country, you know, that I'm in now, where I'm in Dubai, where people aren't really doing it. So there aren't a ton of people trying to change the game. And I don't know. People still look like they're just boxing without gloves. You know, MMA guys, they can play the clinch a little bit. Um, but I don't know. I don't know how much change I've really seen within the last few years, even. But I think it will come. Where before it was kind of like a retirement home for MMA guys or old boxers that are looking for, you know, one last shot or whatever. Now it's guys who are starting and coming up in there, you know. So the evolution will happen. But as of right now, I'm not sure. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Think that there's at least varied styles that you can see there's a development in difference where I can't say that everyone has it, but you can see brawlers, you can see guys that stay long. You look at a guy like Austin Trout who hits a pivot. If you see LT Nelson's performance this
Uh,
weekend, he was working with a lot of angles. He was hitting Kennelly just in literally ways that Kennelly didn't see coming. So I think in small spurts we are starting to see evolutions, but I think there is a lot of, with the sport being so young, people are all based in kind of the same traditional training.
hmm No, that's true. But it's a case of the guys coming in, you know, like LT. It's I made this joke a few times where the best base for bare knuckle is to have a failed MMA career. You know, like there are a lot of guys that kind of like I don't want to say they kind of suck, but they have iffy records, me included, where it was like but then they come into this and it's something else. And I don't know what the intangibles are. You know, I don't know whether LT is just as good he is because he's LT, because he came in being tough and gritty and his style works, you know, as opposed to guys that have maybe come in and changed their style over time. You know, like I feel like on that subject, I will be a bit of a blueprint. Like if the majority of my MMA fights were either head kicks or grappling, so now it's purely boxing. You're going to see where I kind of, you know, I have a few ideas. I'm going to try and bring to the game. You know, like I want it when it's all said and done to say that I brought something, even if it was just a way of blocking, or even if it was like you know, for example, I always said that what George St. Pierre or Josh Thompson was the guy who brought the Superman punch. Superman punches fucking suck, but they were the guys that kind of started it. And I like if I have one or two shots that I can bring in, and people are like, oh, okay, yeah, he was the guy that brought it into that. But yeah, it's true. You know, guys are. But again, it's whether what came first. You know, chicken or the egg. Are they just that guy, and that's their style, or did they specifically find it? And that's why I want to see teams come out, you know, into bare knuckle and see, okay, this gym, this group of guys do it this way, and these guys do it that way. You know. But it's interesting. You see, that's what I'm interested in now is to see that development. You know, as opposed to MMA, it's kind of been done. You know.
And I think there's something also to be said for MMA guys are tough. A lot of the guys that have transitioned over, like not to say boxers aren't tough, but MMA fighters will have an upside down toe, a broken arm, and still want to fight for 5 more minutes. So I think that's kind of added an echelon to where the sport was coming up to when you saw a lot of guys coming over. There's just a different level of violence now because we're getting some really tough guys in there.
No, for sure. And you know you know, I see what guys, and then now the money's there, and guys are going to be rewarded for doing that kind of stuff, putting those performances on. And you know, and it's still, like I said, like it's a fledgling sport to where it's you can achieve something. You can be a world champ. You can be the GOAT. You know, the GOAT gets thrown around a lot. Everyone says that, yeah, every so often, but it's, and you know, for guys like us, that's important. That's what you want to leave as a legacy and tell your grandkids. And you know, yeah.
Being in a country where there's not a lot of bare knuckle boxers, how unique then have you had to make your camp to work around those difficulties? Because I'm guessing it's sparring's a little different when you're having to find regular boxes or MMA fighters to do it with.
Yeah, I said like in the lead up to this, like it's too much boxing for MMA guys and it's too much MMA for boxers. You know, like I can find individual if I go to an MMA gym, I can okay, can we just clinch? But no leg attacks and we're just gonna punch. But then if you go to a boxing gym and say, "Oh, I'm gonna punch you in the clinch." No, that's what the fuck is this? So it is difficult. Like I feel like there is more crossover for MMA guys in regards to sparring and stuff. I was quite lucky. Like I found a coach here who is a pro boxer. I think 6-0 pro boxing, but he's open enough to where he can say, okay, let's work on this and work on that, and oh, how does that work in relation to not having gloves on and stuff like this. But yeah, it's got its own challenges, you know.
What was it about BKB that had you sign back up with them? We saw you first time, BKFC. Now you're going to enter the Trigon.
Like realistically, I had a few more offers from BKFC, and things didn't go the way. Either date changes or opponents pulling out and stuff like this. So that was I was on the shelf for 2 years almost. Something like that. And it's a case of I looked at who's again. I have this goal. I'm gonna manifest. I will be a world champ. But in BKFC, if you're not an ex-UFC guy or if you don't have a massive social media following, it's kind of difficult to get those fights, From my understanding, again, obviously I had one fight and I'm not talking bad about anybody, but BKB keeps guys more active. Again, look at the guys. They have guys that are considered the GOAT, LT, Barry, Sweeney when he was on there. They were fighting consistently, and that doesn't seem the same thing the other way around. And as I said, I'm on borrowed time in the sense that I want this year, and so that was like the main contributing factor. Plus, I got opportunities from there that I didn't get from BKFC or other events. There were other events in other countries to where my first fight I will be traveling out to South Carolina, which is a big thing. Like I have a lot of guys that start saying, "Oh, this is the dream," and they never realize it. And this is something that I've been offered, and yeah, I'm super grateful, and that was a big deciding factor.
What do you do to prepare for the Trigon? I don't know if you've rigged anything up, but I've stood inside of there with a heavyweight and I was like, wow, this really is tiny.
Ah, geez. I'm wondering, I've had guys tell me both things. Like, no, 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 it's okay. You can move around. And I've had guys saying like, no, it's super duper small. Uh, um, I've cut. We have a boxing ring in the gym, and I've cut it from corner to corner. I kind of hope that that's kind of similar, but a fight's a fight. Like in my MMA fights, in the fight, I kind of they don't last more than 3 minutes, one round, or something. So I don't look at it like it's going to be too much different. But I've tried to prepare as much as I could. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. Again, another interesting thing about the event, like outside of just being in a ring or a cage or you know.
Has its own personality, its own feeling being in that Trigon because it's not just the fighting surface, it's also getting used to the depth of the corners because you don't
Uh-huh.
usually get something that's like that tight where you're feeling like you're stuck in a corner. Normally we've seen cages, the octagon, the circle. It's not really like you're trapped in there. This is like something's bumping against your shoulder. So I think that's the most unique aspect that you'll want to feel out when you jump in there to test it out. It's going to be those
Mhm.
corners are a little bit different than what you feel in other traditional sports because it's even more narrow than a boxing ring.
Right, right, right. But like I was thinking, because of obviously the extended clinch in bare knuckle, it's like how much different can it be? Because even if my back is on something, is it gonna change? Is it gonna change too much? But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it is, and yeah, I want to try some stuff, but we'll see.
That feel like the beginning of a new journey. I mean, you've been in bare knuckle, you've done it once before, but now really committing and focused. Does it feel like the start of something different?
Oh, for sure. Like I've said it to a few people, in retrospect, I wish I took I wish I took my MMA career as serious as I do this. But it's the follies of age kind of thing. I realize now, I'm in a comfortable situation in life and I have time to dedicate to the sport. So yeah, 100%. I don't know how much longer I want to be in it. I want to achieve what I want to achieve as soon as possible. But yeah, for sure. It's yeah, it's definitely something. Like I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the sport. Guys like you who are pioneering this stuff now. is going to be something that we look back on in 20 years and be like, oh, that's what that was, you know. But yeah, no, I'm excited.
You've had, like we said, almost 100 fights if you count everything undocumented. I gotta wonder, what are some keys to traveling? You're gonna be coming all the way from Dubai or Abu Dhabi all the way over here to South Carolina. That's gonna be some hours in a plane.
Well, and I made this worse. So unfortunately, I have a situation. I need to go to Vietnam. So I'm gonna go to Vietnam, and then I'm gonna fly back here, and then I'm gonna fly to Doha, then to the UK, pick up the flight that they booked, and then somewhere to the US, and then somewhere else to get to Carolina. So yeah, it's gonna it's gonna suck. But you know, like you prepare. It is what it is. I'm gonna check the time differences, and I'll sleep on this plane, and I'll stay awake on that plane, and it's just part of the deal, you know. But I wouldn't trade it. You know, this is part of the thing. You know, you have these experiences, you have these journeys, and you know the miles and the money. You're like that's what's important at the end of the day. And yeah, it's I'm gonna do my best, and then we'll see what happens. But I have a built-in excuse if I fucking lose, it's because of the travel. The travel was so bad. But no, it's gonna be cool.
I saw on your social media that there was a post about your opponent, and yes, we're going to get to him, Maurice Morris being the favorite in the fight, and someone saying it's because he's more experienced. He has like one more bare knuckle fight than you, and you can't think that he has as many
He,
fights as you do.
bro, he's 6-6 in MMA, and he's 1-1 in bare knuckle. So like, you know, but again, like maybe this is maybe it's damage, maybe it's wear and tear. Like I can't say it's experience if, you know, maybe I'm falling to pieces. But no, it's not. I think it's a strange concept. Like I'm not sure of the matchmaking, and I'm not talking bad on the show. The fights are great. It's going to be an interesting event. But you know, like they flew me over. Like, am I the B side, or am I the A side? Like, do they want to build me? But I can't tell you, you know, because he's not a scary kind of knockout puncher. I don't see him being, you know, particularly better than me in any avenue. So I don't know. But other than him being local, I don't see how he would be anything more than, you know, and being the favorite.
He's local, so you would think he's the A side. But they got to be, investing in you to bring you all the way around the world to get here. So it's pretty hard to say that they're not investing in you also.
Oh, go on. But no, you know, it's cool, and the show's awesome. Like they've treated me well already, and yeah, you know, but I see the future. You know, I want to really work on this because it is the second, you know, in terms of social media at least, let's say, like it's the second show. You know, and but at the same time, they're doing the right things. They have legit fighters. You know, they don't have give me fights. They don't have influencers on. Um, so you know they're doing the right things, but I wanna be the face. I want to be the guy with him. You know. But yeah, this is the first guy. Like we'll see.
What's the biggest difference? Because you've been able to experience it. What's the biggest difference between the feeling of bare knuckle versus MMA with the 4 ounce gloves?
You definitely feel it. You definitely feel it more on the receiving end and you know the the other way. It hurts a little bit more. Like I think I've called that out. Like in my at my stage of life, like I don't want the brain trauma. I don't want, you know, these big. I don't want to lose consciousness. And if you look at the majority of the knockouts in bare knuckle, it's because that shit hurts. Like guys go down and they hold their face and they sit there. It's not because they lost consciousness. It's because it hurts. So you know, yeah, that's the probably the biggest difference. But that you know, to me, it kind of that's part of the interest, you know, because again, it's am I going to make you quit? Are you going to make me quit? And I've had the issues before with my mental where like I quit before I went out, you know, and I was just fuck this, I'm going to work on Monday. Like, let me just do this quick. And you know, and this is if that happens, I'm gonna get hurt. Like something that I can't just get cracked and it be fine. So like it's an interesting perspective on what my mentality is going to be when it happens, you know, because it does. I feel like the mentality in this is way more important than maybe MMA, you know, for that fact that it hurts more and you're gonna feel it the whole way through. And you see the fight where the guy's face all swelled up and shit. it's an interesting thing, but yeah, it hurts more.
How do you get over that little voice in your head that almost wants you to quit?
I don't know. I don't know. Like realistically, if you look at the fights I've had, which don't, they all suck. But like I never quit because it hurt. I never quit because I quit because I didn't want to be there. And let's just go home. Let's get paid and go home. Um, I've never had a situation to where I was hurting and then I quit. So I don't know if that's a part. Maybe I need to kind of feel it on and be like, okay, it's not so bad. Like I've had fights where I've, broke hands and broke, all kinds of stuff. But you carry on and so I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe I never committed like I did for this. So I feel like that's gonna bring me through, even if something's a little bit rough. Like I've committed a lot of money and a lot of time and time away from my family to where this needs to fucking work. So yeah, I need to be put unconscious. Like I'm not just gonna quit because shit hurts. Like everything hurts. But yeah, we'll see. But we'll see. It's an interesting thing. It's not what people think about. Like it's well, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Like a lot of guys with MMA experience, the lack of wrestling and jujitsu, how much better does the body feel right now at this point in camp compared to MMA preparation, where you always get the little injuries in grappling?
Yeah, like it's weird because I was always told and I always believed that I will grapple for the rest of my life. I will be Helio Gracie at 98 years old on the mats but then yeah, like you get past 35, 30, and everything hurts. Like if you do a roll and you haven't spent 20 minutes warming up and my neck and da. So yeah, I feel really good because I haven't been doing that. I hit pads and I hit the bag and like that's cool. Like I haven't had any issues this whole camp like uh, so yeah, it's completely different. Like it's a more fun kind of prep, as much as I never really prep for MMA fights, but yeah, no, it's easier on your body, I think.
Maurice Morris is going to be the opponent. So obviously, it's you were able to give me his MMA record, his bare knuckle record. You've looked into him. What sticks out about what he tries to do?
Bro, like I'm gonna give it up. Like he throws the straight right hand to the face and he shows the straight right hand to the body, and then he kind of rushes in and clinches a little bit. Like that's what he does on everything. Granted in MMA fights after the clinch, he's got okay takedowns and then he maybe ground and pounds guys, but yeah, like there's not much to him, And I'm preparing for there he is. I'm trying to imagine that he's going to other places and he's improving, but like it is a kind of a simple game plan. But at the same time, he's a big, strong man, and he's obviously tough. He's had fights, so I'm not underestimating like that. But yeah, I can't see how he's planning on fighting me. Like apart from that straight right hand, and let's see, he'll clinch or something. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And the problem is as well, like I've tried to make this a thing. I've tried to go to guys. Again, thank you so much for putting me on. This guy ain't posted shit. He said some sus. He's gonna sleep me and smoke me, which we don't really say that stuff where I'm from. And he dresses like Papa Shango or some shit. Like I don't know what like. He's not promoting the fight either. This is in his hometown. Like I don't get it, bro. I don't get it.
Absolutely love the 90s WWE callback right there to
My
Papa
man, I knew
Shango.
you would, bro. I knew you would.
Um, not to steer off anything, but did you know they were actually gonna bring him back as Papa Shango before he became the Godfather?
I did not. No, I did not.
Yeah, they were actually going to make him a more evil version, a little darker version than the cartoony Papa Shango. And instead,
Hmm.
Vince McMahon came up with the Ho Train. Whole thing I watched actually just a couple days ago.
In the Attitude Era, that wouldn't have worked, surely. Like because what was he? He was like a Indiana Jones voodoo type guy, right? How's that gonna? Well, you had vampires and zombies and shit, so maybe I don't know.
You
Well,
never know. You never know. But yes, you're right. He does have that gimmick, that allure. I also saw in your social media that you said you were going to send him home. That you don't think he is it that you don't think he wants to be a fighter, or you don't think he wants to
no,
get
okay.
into the
So
war?
So again, no, no, no. I said he can go back and be a family man. Because guy's got 4 kids, and I'm not. And this is the thing. I'm trying to be a veteran about it. I want him to get mad and him talk. Say, "Oh, you talk about my family. I didn't say anything about your family. I said you had a family. I have a family too. But it's one of those. It sounds controversial, but I didn't say anything. But yeah, no, like he I don't know his motivations. It doesn't matter. I want to get paid. I want to have the fights. Like I didn't know who the co-main. I know we're not the co-main, but like I don't know in what order the fight's gonna be. And like let's do some work. People like this shit. People like seeing some controversy, and he's not giving it to me, man. But no, I don't give a fuck. I hope he's safe. I hope he goes back to his family safe and they're good and everyone's great. But yeah, fuck that guy if you want. Eh,
Controversy sells. And like you said, with where you're at, it feels like you're trying to grab the attention. You recognize that there's a lot of value in making a statement.
for sure, and especially in this, it's we can like they care about the fights in BKB. They care about who's the best guy fighting the best guy. Like that seems to be something that they're quite proud on. And if no one sees you fight, no one will know you're the best guy. Like so how do people see you fight? By making it a big thing, by making people interested. Uh, there's nothing else to it, right? And if you want to make like, and this is what I advise to the young guys now, going off topic slightly, like the opportunity you have to make money in fighting is really short, really small. The opportunity to be seen by people and make connections and network, like that's what this is for. So you have to go out there. Like sponsors are important and meeting people, but if no one gives a fuck about who you are and if what you're fine, then what are you doing this for? You know? So yeah, like that's what I'm trying, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm planning I'm planning on going viral with this, and then we'll see what happens after that.
You mentioned you're also a family man, the motivations. What do you do this for?
I don't know. If I'm completely honest at this stage, it is to kind of pull like I want to be, as I said, a legitimate world champion in a combat sport. I've dedicated my life to this in one way or the other, and was I was the best in the world. So that's kind of plus.
Could you re-say some of that? It was cutting in and out.
Sorry, bro. I can't. Ah, fuck, man. Yeah, I was staring at you still, and I was like, did I say something? No, as I said, I need to achieve something. I need to be the best in the world at one sport at one time, and I believe it can be like this, and I like it. It's kind of fun, but I haven't been fucked up yet. So if I get fucked up, maybe I'll change my mind. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And it's not the company that you're fighting for, but they're going to be out in Dubai here in a couple weeks. Have you seen or felt any more talk about that show being there with you in the country?
Not really. Not really. Like I had maybe 17 people message me personally because I don't know because of anything. Oh, can you get me tickets? Are you gonna be there? And and of course, the same day, different country, different event. But yeah, no, it's not. They're not doing a ton of. I see the same Facebook ad, every day, and that's kind of it. Like they're not the guys they've got on the show aren't necessarily big local guys either. Like they got a lot of Egyptian guys coming in, and again, what are Egyptian guys doing in Dubai? Kind of thing. They're not going to sell a bunch of tickets. They got Olenik, who there's a bit of a Russian population here, but that's kind of it. And the main event, while good main events, I don't know if it has really the big name appeal. But yeah, all success to them. I hope it's good, but I haven't seen too much here.
Was just curious on the front of,
But
the continued global
people they
expansion.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and Dubai is a funny place, bro. Like I don't know many shows that do multiple events in Dubai. I don't know whether the rent's too high or whether the tickets. People are spoiled. They don't like paying for like there are events here that do it for free purely because they're either funded by the government or they have sponsors. So I don't know what they're gonna do sales wise, but as I said, the people aren't doing multiple shows here. For MMA or otherwise. Even the UFC. The UFC go to Abu Dhabi. But we'll see. Maybe they don't know something I know.
You fought all around the world. You've been to many fight weeks. Debuting with a promotion and having your goals. Does it add any kind of nerves or pressure expectations to how you're feeling?
No, again, no, not really. I prepared. I've done the thing, and and that's what I've said to guys. Like real confidence is knowing that you prepared, knowing that you put the work in, and I have. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not too bothered. Like I'm not overly worried. Like obviously it's a fight at the end of the day where I'm like, oh, this, you could die, but no, like I feel good. I feel good now, and let's see what it is closer to the time. But I'm confident.
Dan Vinny, the BKB debut, April 4th, South Carolina, BKB 39. Thank you so much, sir, for the time today.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate it. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon.